welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art on MTR Podcast. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today's guest is a talented multi-instrumentalist and producer, a powerful vocalist, and an engaging performer who sells out venues regularly in Baltimore. We have Isaac Shane, EU1OGY. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
It's going. It's going. That's the way I have to put it. We were talking before I hit the record button, like so long ago, like literally 5 seconds ago. And I always have to play this bit. I was like, how fake am I going to be in my intro? How much energy can I give with it? And I think I'm at the right pitch. So again, thank you for coming on to the podcast, and we'll learn a bit about you, your music, and your work, your projects, all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Having me.
Yeah. I definitely have a couple of your songs in my faves and my Spotify. So that's just what that is.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. It's some of it might be workout related. You know, if I really need to crank it up, it's like, all right.
Whatever moves you, I'm down for that.
So how long have you been making music? How did you get started?
I've been making music, I would say, since I want to say 10th grade. Which is like 2001. So yeah, I've been making music for a while, you know, and even before that, I think 10th grade was like hands-on with like guitar, stand-up bass, specifically. But before then, I was in choir with church and stuff. So I was always kind of like gravitated to music in a way.
So, you know, you're talking 20 years.
Yeah.
So you and I are about the same age. I've spent most of my time podcasting, and I tried to do the music thing a little bit. I think everyone had music or hoop dreams like in early 2000s, and then either you're working at an enterprise or you're still pursuing your passion creatively. It's not much variance between the two. Yeah. So speak on how you got started. Like, you know, you as far as what you're doing now, like you touched on some of the kind of nascent early stages. You mentioned choir, you mentioned guitar, bass, but like as far as like what you're doing now, like you're doing a lot, you know. When I kind of went over it, I was like, okay, much respect. And when I see multi-instrumentalists, much respect. So how has that like progressed to like where you got into where you're at now?
I think just the idea of me always wanting to learn more when it comes to music and the actual instruments. Yeah. I still have a lot to learn, you know, but just with like the basic understanding of guitar, bass, drums, even production now, I was like, cool, I got 4 notes. We go to freak it. That's how I always approached it. And I think from there, I just, you know, I was like, all right, I can make this work, you know, and that's how I started, you know.
So is it very much like definitely the learning thing? I respect it when people are like, look, I'm going to get this and then I'm going to move on. Is it, do you kind of feel it's a DIY kind of approach? And it's like, as you learn and you are able to implement things in your own way, or speak on that a little bit? Yeah,
I would definitely say for the greater part of my music career, it's been DIY. A lot of my, again, like, you know, like I was saying, like I was in choir growing up. So, you know, I learned, okay, I'm a baritone or bass, you know, like that's my, you know, and then when I was learning guitar in stand-up bass and orchestra, it was like, okay, these are the primary notes, hand placement, etc. You know, I'm also left-handed, so that was off the jump, just like kind of derailed me. But I just figured out everything how I was taught, which was right-handed. So I'm left-handed, but I play everything right-handed. And actually, as of like a couple of months ago, I just thought about that, and I was like, man, what if I like switched it up? And I was like, no, it's too much right now. So, but yeah, man, I guess just like, you know, had those fundamental elements. And then I was always into music and just, I never approached music of a genre. I just like, oh, this makes me feel something. I like it. Yeah. So just at a very young age, it wasn't like, oh, I listen to rap, I listen to country. It's like, no, I'm exposed to all this stuff. for whatever reason, I'm taking it in personally, and I would gravitate it. So at a young age too, I just got into like all types of music, mainly like on the radio, you know what I mean? But from like country to rock to rap to everything in between. And then I think when I learned how to start playing music, I was just like, all right, like it was always just like, I'm gonna figure this out, you know, because I always just wanted to be like an artist since I was little, you know, like be known.
Yeah, I think like music, this is going to sound so corny, but I think having a diverse palette musically or from that kind of interest is very similar to, you know, having a wide palette when it comes to food. You know, like if it's like, oh, I only eat chicken fingers. Okay, so just trap music for you. I'm not saying trap music is chicken fingers, right, but the point is still there. And I definitely agree with you. And we're similar in that regard, where I'm going to listen to a little bit of everything. My Spotify liked list is probably like 2,100 songs in there. And when they give you that end of the year, like, this is what your makeup is, it's like, this is all over the place. Yeah, or this is your week's music. And it's like, I got scam rap on here and like vampire music. It's like, what the hell is happening?
Right.
So speak on that. Like, this is a question that you don't have. So this is a new one. Is there a mood that you aim to set with your work?
So I've been in a lot of bands since like 2004 officially. As far as eulogy, it was always like a sad sorrow feeling and or cocky, like we gonna get it feeling. It was like for the very two extremes. Because that's just how I am, you know. Yeah. I'm very like emotional, and I feel everything from anyone that I deal with. I'm an energy reader, and I have that gift to just, you know, feel those vibes off top. You know, better. It's kind of intense, but yeah, that's kind of how like my music just kind of goes with. It's like you said, workout music, you're pumping it up, or you're dancing, great time, or it's like, this is like rut type, you know? So
yeah, I'm dead inside. I don't really have emotions. So listening to some of the stuff, you know, you just put it on there, and it's for me, it's it would be a disservice not to listen to the guests' stuff before I actually speak to them. And I was like, all right, now I feel something. I was like, what is this emotion I'm being possessed by? I was like, come on.
Yeah.
So art and music, like music obviously has meant something big to you. So if you want to expand upon that, please do. But art and music, what has it meant to you in this kind of creative, this development, this portion of your life?
I mean, art was my first love, first and foremost, you know. In fifth grade, I was accepted into multiple magnet programs for middle school. Mm-hmm. And then so like off top, I just felt like I was special, you know what I mean? I was just like, oh, like Baltimore School for the Arts or this magnet school or this other magnet school. Like I applied and got accepted into them. Like I'm this other, you know? Yeah. And so at age 10, I was like, bet, you know? As far what was the question again? You're asking me.
So speak on the importance of what art and or music has meant for you. And I think you touched on music, you know, but yeah.
Art. Sorry about that. So art is pretty much, you know, art is why, for me, they go hand in hand. You know, the visual was always just as important as the whatever I was hearing. And that's why I was so fascinated growing up when like I would hear the song on the radio and then actually have the physical and see what these people look like and whatever they were wanting to portray in this album art, you know, that I would hold. So art was always I was always really into aesthetics from a young age, from like looking at TV shows and movie props. And I remember when I was 8, I set up my room like a scene in Mighty Ducks, you know what I mean? Where I had like my hockey sticks and like everything in a corner and like my mom walked in. I remember she was just like, whoa. And I just remember like having that good feeling of like, oh, this is like my expression with just what I have, you know, and mocking it to something that I saw that I liked. Yeah. And then, you know, just going to art school from 6th grade up until high school, and then just taking special classes that were curated for me to grow on my skill that was not necessarily considered at the time like academics, but I was still taking like time out of my day along with my academics to like make it work, you know?
Yeah.
And just the amount of homework and stuff. So I don't know, art to me was just like, it was something I was like, I knew I had the eye and the love for it.
Yeah.
And I was always willing to learn technique and why things were the way they were. But I also had a rebellious side where I was like, well, it's art, so I can, all this shit doesn't matter.
Right.
Subjectively, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So at a very young age, I realized that too. And it kind of like battled with me as far as like education and furthering my like art careers in college and stuff like that. So yeah, art was one of those things where I like loved. And then I would say like music was always stood by side by side. But at one point music just kind of like overtook it. And I was just like, yeah, art school, but this music, you know what I mean? In a way.
Yeah. So it's funny, like in what you were describing there, it really kind of touches on the next two questions I have. So it feels like it's a segue in a little bit. So you touched on earlier with like artists and kind of the visuals that go along with their music, right? And so from your standpoint, like being on that other side of being someone that is in that position of having content in those visuals, and someone's looking for your stuff and listening to your stuff, describe the importance from your vantage point to touch multiple parts, if not each part of that creative process.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, you know, the visuals of my art are very strategic, and it's something that's like doesn't take a while to come up with, but it's very like when we come up with it, because there's a team.
Yeah.
We try to execute it perfectly, you know? And I guess I've always like, the idea of eulogy was like, okay, I want people to feel a specific way when they listen to this that might make them feel uncomfortable, because it's not really something that they can pinpoint, but hopefully they give it a chance. And same with the visuals, like, I kind of wanted to make it like, what's going on, but I guess I'll stick it out. Like, I feel like my music was something that I always was like, you got to stick it out. You got to dig into the vision. You have to like kind of do some research to maybe even understand the full story, because it is a story. And it's all tied into like a vibe for at least the project that I just released in March. So now, you know, my album.
So now this is one that I put in there because someone asked me this earlier. So I'm going to pass it on to you. I'm using your feedback because I haven't answered their question yet. So I'm going to use your feedback as my feedback in the future. So I'm stealing from you. As an artist, are there times where you're unmotivated, and what motivates you to say, all right, I need to really start writing. I need to make this instrumental. I need to practice, you know, the bass or what have you. Are those times that you're unmotivated, and what motivates you?
Every day, like, I'm motivated, you know, I might not necessarily make music that day, but just the fact that I'm up, I can go in my closet, pick out the flyest outfit I want to, and just go downstairs and eat some cereal. And like, that's my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's inspiration to me, because I got to this point, you know, and just experience, you know, I try to go for walks and things I see and take in. It's all part of the art. Like when I say I put my life on this, like I really mean like, I use this as an outlet to channel my day to day.
I dig that. That's one of those things where I struggle with it sometimes in being in this kind of podcast space, because literally it's like, I'm not making music. I'm not a persona. I'm really pretty much me that's doing these interviews. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what comes through. But in other times it's like, all right, how can I separate the two? And am I being motivated? Am I doing the right work? And am I, because I do 3 podcasts, and the other, other stuff is not interview based. It's, just literally me just almost doing improv or doing research and reviewing a movie. But definitely the improv one, it's so much me. And it's like, I need to be outside. I need to travel. I need to have these different perspectives to kind of fill that well back up. And yeah, I think I kind of agree with it. Like, for I look at it the same way, where if I didn't get up and eat my golden grams this morning, that's a lie. If I didn't get up and get my coffee this morning and just kind of experience and see the people and see these different things, it gives me content and context to come up with these observations. And that may pop itself into a podcast, maybe just this funny thing that pops up. For instance, I remember a while back, I went to a coffee shop and I was like, I want to, it's a colorism bit, but I was like, I only want to order coffee based on this complexion of civil rights leaders. And that idea wouldn't have happened if I wasn't trying to get coffee and going to this place with, these people there. And the fact that one of them thought it was freaking hilarious. And I was like, okay, this is work. This is almost a focus group. I did my work today as a creator in this space.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just living life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like that's true art, just the experience and how you take it in, because I try to stay in that moment, as like, us right here, we're just talking. So, but yeah, man, I guess though, to elaborate though, I mean, I don't know, like I do play my drums almost every other day, or I do pick up my guitar almost every day, or like I do try to sit on the computer and like, as of recently, try to like, dive into Ableton. And, last fall I took a class with Wendell Patrick for beat making 101 and beat making 1 and 2 through Peabody. It was the first time I like actually understood what I was doing using these programs, when at first I was just kind of like opened them up and tried to figure it out. This was like someone who's like a prodigy, like step by step being like, oh, this is easier. Just like, think about it like this. And it's like, oh, wow, duh. Like all these studios and stuff. And like, this is like, I understood it more, Yeah. So I think that's practice to me too. Like, again, like I said, like I'm always trying to learn and be better, and just new sounds and just anything that I can, like, according to music or going along with music, I'm down to take it in, because it's going to help me in the long run. I think that's why like U-O-G is special, because it was a solo project. For the first time in my life, after all the bands I've been in prior, like I could just do exactly what I wanted and no one could ever argue it. Sure. It was just a learning experience.
Yeah. Those classes that you referred to. Yeah. I know what you mean about picking those skills up, whether it be, because like I said before, a lot of this stuff, is my baby. So I'm working on it. So I don't want to go to someone and say, hey, can you put this Photoshop thing together? Let me try to learn Photoshop so I can use it to do these things and not have to need anyone, but be able to do it and be self-sufficient. And even if it's like public speaking, or even if it's, interviews, like I interviewed Wendell, I interviewed Aaron Hankin, and just, it's always interesting to interview someone who's in radio or doing a podcast to kind of get, their feedback. Cause it's a podcast and it's content, but also It's like, I'm learning something from you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. I learned so much from Wendell. Excellent teacher, excellent musician. Give them a shout out, because I saw that you did an interview with them.
So what does it mean to you to be an artist with ties to Baltimore?
It just means that, like, I feel like a lot of artists from Baltimore are just, for the most part, pretty authentic and genuine. I mean, I've met a couple that are questionable, but at the end of the day, it's still like, you got to go out of your way to like do this. You know what I mean? Or it's not just like your everyday person doesn't wake up and just try to write a song or play on the drums or write a lick, it's like, we're taking our time to like be creative, within the 24 hours that we have, just like everyone else. To be in Baltimore, I feel like there's this sense of like desperation for a lot. I'm blessed to have traveled a lot, but a lot of people haven't left this city. Mm-hmm. And a lot of artists, I feel it's like their only way out. So like it's do or die, you know, in a sense, like by any means necessary for the ones who are living that life, you know.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, it's special because everyone, like, I'm a Baltimore artist, you know what I mean? Like I've contributed to the scene since I was 18. I've helped create outlets for hundreds of artists, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, I'm trying to be humble, but you know, it's like, for me, it's like, I'm proud because I know that like it holds weight. Like when you go elsewhere, people are like, oh, damn, you're from Baltimore? It's like sometimes people are shocked that I'm wherever they're at being from Baltimore, because again, like a lot of people don't leave, you know, or haven't left, or people don't never come here. So they're like, oh, I'm never going there. I'm taking whatever you're giving me right now as Baltimore. And I love that. You know what I mean? Because I get that sometimes when I travel, like, cool, I'll never go there, but I like the vibes you're giving me. And that's a good feeling, you know?
Yeah, I think you carry it. And I've talked to just different artists who do the travel and they're in different places, and they always remark upon how like you can't be on that bullshit here. You like, because of that desperation that you mentioned, and because of that, you have people who are doing what you do maybe as good, or they're on your ass, and you're like, I need to keep my skills sharp to even be, you know, qualified, you know, to be in this conversation as an artist here, because it's big. Like the artist scene, I think musically, visual arts, all of that stuff, it's big. It's crowded, and people are looking for those opportunities. And crowded in the sense that it's not a negative, but in the sense that I just think you can easily be a part of a community because it's so many people here, I think.
Yeah, there's so many people and it's very small. You know, either go somewhere in Baltimore and 30 people show up, you feel like you lit, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the special thing about Baltimore. Like theoretically, everyone can do them and it could be good. You know, some people might feel some type of way these days, but like, technically, that's why they call it Charm City. There, everyone has a voice, and when it comes to the art, you know, you can be a weirdo, you can be quirky, and normally, you know, since I was young, that was like the thing, you know. I mean, better that than to not be, you know.
Right.
So,
so I got a couple more questions here for you. Locally or otherwise, whose work is currently on your radar? Like, you know, you're a music person, you're into art, so frame it however you like. Who's like on your radar that's like, okay, you're popping right now, you next, or you got some good shit coming out?
I really fuck with this band Zulu. They're like a power violence band out in the West Coast. They're just like killing it, you know. I think they're up next, especially for the hardcore scene, because it's just like the visuals is crazy, like, you know. Who else do I like? Soulblind, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Liner. I don't know. I feel like locally, I don't really keep up with too many people, honestly, anymore. There was I spent probably like over a decade trying to like, you know, put others on in a sense, you know, to the point where I kind of just like fell off with the local scene. So honestly, I don't know who's spinning. I know there's like, from when I started music to now, I know there's like a whole like new like wave of younger kids that just like sometimes I go out and people like eulogy and I'm like, yo, whoa, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And
I try to like lurk them online. I'm like, oh damn, that's little young homie. He's lit right now. I didn't even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or at least like, because again, like I feel like I'm kind of past that stage now. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like, but again, because it's hard for me to keep up now because I've been so focused on me and Eulogy and my other band, Drip, that like I'll see stuff online, but I don't absorb it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
I don't
like I research music and bands all the time, but sometimes just like for whatever reason, I gotta see it live, and haven't seen a lot of stuff live because of COVID. Like I'm a live person. Like if you don't market live for me, I'm not digging in. Sorry, like, but that's just how I was brought up in being in a band. You know, when I first Nightlife is a great band. They're definitely going to make some moves. Hansel, he's also plays bass in my band Drip.
Yeah.
alternative funk, R&B, soul. It's like a crazy fusion, emo even. Check them out. I think they're gonna do some crazy things. I don't know. For me, music, man, honestly, like I'm about pushing boundaries in a way, you know? Like I don't want to hear nothing I already heard before. And I know that's like, I don't want to sound mean, but it's like, I feel like it's shit. What I do don't sound like nothing else. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things I listen to don't sound like nothing else. So I feel like we're at a point right now, not even locally, just around the world, where so many people see something blow up and they just try to do that.
Well, yeah.
Whether rap or rock or whatever it might be. And I think the best part about being an artist and musician is like, yo, you can be you. Like, that's the coolest part about being an artist. Like, all the cool artists are like, damn, that dude was just dope because he was himself. Like, sometimes you can just tell that people are just naturally being themselves. Like, but then there's the other side of the artistry where like people want to be that. So they try to be that. And then that's not what being an artist or a musician's about. So there's two sides to it, you know? And I feel like the people who want to be that kind of overshadow the people who just do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? In a way. Not to say that the people who just don't do it don't got their own thing, but from what I've noticed in the industry, now that I'm in the industry, I guess, I just see a lot of like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, what's this about though? Like, what are you about? Like, who, like at the core, what are you doing?
I think one of the things that, because I think about this a lot, I'm a music lover. I was one of those dudes on going through Pitches and Planes, or have you, friggin' like Pitchfork, going through, it's like, what's good, you know, and literally like listening through and doing deep dives and things like that. And it's like, yo, I'm either burning a CD, which shows you how old I am, or making a playlist, or adding this shit to the iPod. And it's just like, yo, you know, with rare exceptions, I haven't really cared about a lot of people's stuff in probably the last like 10, 11 years. And I remember reading something the other day about this. They were talking about albums that came out in 2010, 2011. And I was like, that's my point. And it's not a dig at anybody and what their work is. I was like, you know, thinking like they're, in terms of music production and the sounds and all of that stuff is probably better than it's ever been. It's like, I'm a wrestling fan, right? Right. Wrestling, in terms of what happens in the ring, is better than it's ever been, but there's some element that's missing. That's the same way I feel about like music. Maybe the emotion is missing, or maybe that unique characteristic is mixing that I can't quite put my finger on it, but I know something is missing. And, you know, I've had this conversation with multiple people, and they kind of echo a very similar sentiment that something is just not quite there. Things are popping, but people are doing things like, who was it? Was it Vince Staples? He was talking about this thing of getting that bread from video games and making his stuff like syncable. And it's like, so you're making your content for the bread, which is your prerogative, but now it's being kind of influenced by something that's not what you're doing. Right. And that's what I see, that the business, the money side of things, like you want people to be paid for their work. That side of things is kind of muddying up the artistry, I think. Yeah, I mean, you got to get your bread, you know what I mean? So like, I get it, but again, at its core, what are you doing this for then? You know what I mean? Yep, like, what's your purpose? Hearing an artist talk about, oh, I just did this album just to do it, like I don't even rap. Like, then what are you doing this for? Yeah. Like, I put my life on this. Get out the way, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like this ain't no game. This was do or die for me. This wasn't just like, oh, let me like maybe do music because it's easy and like I don't got to do this and that. No, bro, it's not easy. Bye. Pick rocks. Like why are you doing this? What's the point? What's the energy you're giving out? Like this is on forever. Like don't like. Nah, dude, I'm not. You know what I mean? And it's like appreciate that shit and show some consideration, because you know, really, like I feel the same way that you're describing, or at least I think I do. Where when it comes to the podcast stuff, like I remember all the nonsense I used to hear, being self-taught, doing all of this shit on my own. and hearing like, oh, you're probably just in your mom's basement. You're probably some type of loser. And then suddenly it's popping. And now everybody thinks that they're a podcaster. I've taught this shit at Hopkins. You know what I mean? Like, and I sit here and I look at it. I'm like, so what you're doing is very similar in terms of on the surface to what I'm doing. We are not the same.
Right.
And, but people are looking at the cloud or looking at whatever it is that this person is getting more notoriety, more of a bump. But really, you're muddying the waters. It's like, we don't need 700,000 to 1 million different podcasts out there. You're just taking up space if it's not what you do.
Exactly.
If you're just doing it as an additional thing. Like I have a business, I'm selling water bottles or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. And suddenly you just say, oh, I need a podcast to accompany it. You're just getting in the way.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. I have a friend that podcasts out in California, and we were literally on the phone the other day, and they told me the exact same thing you just told me. Like, dude, I'm getting hate. Like, this is crazy. Like, I just kept with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like he's like, people are like, yeah, I'm not gonna listen to that. Like, or like just tried to off them. Now they're just trying to off them. And I'm like, damn, even the podcast game is crazy. Like,
it is. It's super competitive. And, I'll leave this point on this. It's the same thing where, because it's not really regulated the same way I think music can be. Mm-hmm. I had this conversation with someone, because you always have these gurus out there who know what's best for you. And it's like, I don't know. But I'll put it this way. You got Spotify, you got Apple. They're making podcasts, their own stuff. So no one's going to tell me that they're not giving them preferential treatment and putting them towards the front. They want to sell their own shit first.
Yeah.
So if there's only room for, let's say, the top 50, let's say, arts podcasts, and Apple does one or does 5, those 1 to 5 top slots already filled up with Apple shit.
Yeah.
So people don't understand that. It's like, oh, why aren't you getting these numbers? The numbers are fake.
Oh,
We've learned this.
I'm living proof that numbers are fake. You go to my Twitter, you go to my Instagram. My numbers aren't crazy. I don't got no blue check. Like, I've done more legit shit than most artists here, but like, I just came up at a time where like it didn't really matter at that point. And then I want to say like 2013 to 16, it was like, what are you following? What's your following? How many people follow you? Like,
what's your listenership and things like that? Yeah.
Like, I was off top. I was always like, ew, that's gross, bro. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, because again, I came up as a kid in a band who like, yo, are you practicing? Are you rehearsing? Like, are you dope? Like, I remember when I moved to New York, and people was like, oh, I'm out here, I'm playing this show, and had like 4 songs. Right. And that was it. And I'm like, what? I got like EPs and albums under my belt. Like, this is crazy. Like, and then I realized that like, you can pay to play. Mm-hmm. You can pay to get numbers. You can be placed anywhere you need to be if you got the right connections or you pay. Yeah. Like it's a lot of money and like connects, and like everything's kind of like, I feel like a favor in a way.
Yes.
You know? So, I'm just learning all this shit. No diss to nobody, but the numbers, it don't, like I said, I'm living proof it don't really fucking matter. I have a cult following now. You know what I mean? Right. Like, so like, that's all I ever wanted. Like, I can pop up, it's lit. You don't know about it? Cool. Don't care. I don't want
you're not supposed to know.
like I'm glad that I've created like a fan base and like a type of, like, there's a specific type of person when you goes to the eulogy show that can take it in and like really appreciate it for it is. And it's like, kind of like, I heard that like only like specific people can really like podcasts. It's like a acquired thing, you know, like that's how I feel about my music. It's like, it's acquired, but the ones that know, ooh, we lit. It's like the best club ever. You know what I mean? And it's like, we all hot and intelligent. Like it's like, oh, cool. You got all right. we out here, you know what I mean? And I'm glad that like, I kept it real and like that real that like, it's grown to be that, you know what I mean?
Totally. So the last 2 things I got. First album. What was the first album you ever owned, and how did you acquire it?
Yeah, that would be no doubt Tragic Kingdom. My sister, I'm pretty sure my sister, who was super hip, going to Sarah Lawrence at the time, told my mom how to get it. It was on cassette.
Nice.
That and Spice Girls was the two physical things that I got. I asked for it for Christmas, middle school. Like I said, like I was just on some wild. I just like, I was just kind of like nails and wearing Jinkos and like Doc Martens and like art school shit. You know, 6th grade, I'm cool. You know, and like that was like the vibe then, like 99.1 HFS, very alternative. You know, and it's crazy because to this day I love No Doubt. And yesterday I was doing research. You know, because again, like I said, artists I just always just see what's up with them, how they get to where they're at, what's up with them now. And I was like, damn, what's up, No Doubt? And then I was like, yo, they're not even really a band no more. Like they all pretty much like off Twin. Like they're like, we're not rocking with her. And I was like, I didn't know that. And then I found out because I was Googling them and like a recent performance came up of Don't Speak. And it was Gwen Stefani, Don't Speak. And it was like these random motherfuckers behind her. And I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. No Tony, no Adrian, no Tom, no horn selection. Woo!
Is that what you want?
It just like hurt my heart. So yeah, No Doubt was the first physical thing I ever owned.
I'll give you this. I think one of the first things that I purchased, the first one that was bought for me was probably the double cassette of what is it? Wu-Tang Forever.
Sick.
And I just remember my dad shaded it the whole time. He's like, what's this? He's like, just put it in. I was like, oh, that was for me. Don't put it in yet. I was listening to my own. And he was like, I don't like these samples.
Yeah.
And one of the other ones that was like kind of non-rap. I don't know if it was, this show just dates it. I don't know if it was Lynn. You Can't Stop the Bum Rush.
Ooh, that was Flame CD.
I just remember that was a summer playlist right there. Or if it was Cottonmouth Kings.
Ooh, all right. Wait. All right, Cottonmouth Kings I wasn't too into, but Lynn, let's go back to Lynn. Bum Rush. That shit was fire. Yeah. That shit was fire, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. Now, and you listen to that shit front to back, right?
Of course I did.
That shit. All right. So you know the song is like, what's my name?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yo, all right. Okay.
Because it's like that. I think that German track is like the one after it or something.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. That was us. See, I listened to stuff like that because my older brother would just, again, HFS was big. 102.7, B 102.7, all that stuff. Like that was like me middle school, you know. So like all this pop and like alternative and like also hip hop 92Q 99 995. Yeah. You know, all that stuff. So like I was just taking it all in. But I remember when that Lynn CD came out in that era, I was just like kind of like ravey, like it was like, where are these people at? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to have some fun. They look like they're having a blast, like, you know what I mean? Riding memo, like Vespas and stuff around, like. But isn't that like a weird story too? Like, isn't there a weird backstory about that band where like the people were like the girl and dude was like related and they had like this weird love thing going on and they were wilding out that summer?
I feel like it was it's a weird backstory there because they're not really around anymore.
Yeah, I think that's some weird backstory to it. I think if you YouTube it, it comes up too. It's weird.
Yeah, I think they're siblings. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it was something kind of weird that like they dabbled in it on some like doc, and I was like, "Ooh, this is." And I remember the guy that helped produce the first Eulogy EP, P. Morris, was telling me about that too. So shout out Lynn, I guess though. You know,
yeah.
I mean, for the album cover, dude on this
oh yeah,
cross and like they were like in cartoons. I feel like that's a deep cut. You gotta be like a specific person to even vibe with that.
When Feeling All Right comes on, I lose my mind. It's a dope track.
No, that's it. Yeah. What's that?
What's the name of it? Was it the Hard Disk Approach?
Yeah. Wow. And
They had Curtis Blow and Bismarcky on this joint. So
I know, but like what was it? Like what were they? Were they DJs or something? Like
they're just listed as alternative rock.
I gotta dig deeper because I feel like they were just on some bullshit and someone was like, "Yo, here do an album," and then they did it. Yeah.
So last thing I have, wow, that was like a nice little Lynn like side piece there. Yeah. And this is more of kind of the ending here. Is there anything you want to plug? Plug away, please.
Yeah, sure. Eulogy, Daggers. I dropped it out in March. Go jump that. Out on Cell Laboratories. Shout out Maddie and Prince up in New York. Prince is a well-known musician and drummer, if you guys don't know. So I gotta like give them love. Maddie Safer from the band The Rapture. He's now in Poolside and has his own project, Safer. They own that label. I'm their first signee. It's my first solo project. Out on Alternative Press, Revolver. You know, it's gotten a lot of love. My band Drip, I'm in a hardcore band called Drip. We haven't played a show yet, but we have an album out called Kiss of Life. You can go pump that on Spotify. We're going to do big things, so keep an eye out on that. We're recording an album this fall. Lots of cool little knickknacks I got going on, some shows popping up. Shout out to my management, Sarah. She just got back from Italy. We'll chat soon. What else do I want to plug? Audrey, my wife. And then just like, you know, like I said, all the bands that I think are going to come up. I'm sure there's a bunch more. Sorry if I didn't name y'all. You know, y'all get y'all shine on the podcast one other day. You for having me and you know, just even being interested in my art. You know, I it's to me, I feel like if you're down with Eulogy, it's a vibration, it's a frequency, and you know, so it's like welcome to the club. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, absolutely.
And that's about it, man. You know, shout out to all the artists in Baltimore, specifically Baltimore. I really feel like this city is on the rise. There's so much talent here. Whether we love each other or don't, like, I wish nothing but everyone here, like, the best because, you know, like, this place is, you got to be here ground level to really feel Baltimore, you know what I mean, and experience, because as much as people make it seem scary, it's a beautiful place. And there's so much, like, talented people here who, like, have a lot to say from their experience here, as in, like, other places that are more well-known. So shout out Baltimore, too. You know, I'm plugging us all in, you know. Yep. Let's keep keeping on and, you know, put on for our city, for sure.
Absolutely. So on that, I want to thank you, Isaac, Shane, Eulogy. This is Rob Lee saying that there's art in and around Baltimore. You just have to look for it.